Good evening, everyone in Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome to tonight's Chiefs Digest Live. I am Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest, and we'll be here answering your questions as long as there are questions to answer. A lot going on at training camp in the last couple of weeks, the last couple of days, and just 2 more days left, Wednesday and a short day on Thursday before the Chiefs break camp. Head down to Tampa Bay for preseason game number 2, and then back to Kansas City to finish out the preseason, wrap everything up, get the roster cuts on August 30th. And then just 2 weeks after that, preseason, the regular season opener. Forget preseason. We're ready to go on to the regular season questions. Don't have a lot to talk about. I'm sure that a lot of things will come up tonight. Yes, I don't had Andrew at training camp yesterday and said I wasn't sure if I was going to be home before the Q&A tonight. Might have to do the Q&A from St. Joe, but I made it back. And yes, lateral hooray, hooray. It is Q&A day. I don't have a lot to monologue to talk about. Obviously, I think one of the biggest things going on right now with this team is a lot of the injury situations. And I bet we'll have some questions about the injuries pop up periodically throughout the night. I know there's already at least one in the queue, so we'll get to that. I'll be honest. I mean, I certainly do not get the sense from the Chiefs that they feel like that they're overly concerned about any injuries, anything that's going to keep people out of action. The Trey Smith injury, the Chiefs do not think that it's something to be concerned about. So it's obviously with that hip, not something that they consider to be long term. I think probably a fair question is that, is it going to be chronic? Is it going to be something that he's going to have to be dealing with for an extended period of time? That we do not know a whole lot more about, but we'll see if he'll be here in the next couple of days. We'll get any more clarity, or we'll get some clarity once the team gets back to Kansas City. The other one, Josh Simmons, and I know that's that question I do have up in the queue, so I'll probably just go ahead and take that one here in a moment. But as always, fire away with your questions. We will have some fun tonight. Might have to go, and maybe you'll help me out. I mean, if there aren't a ton of questions, we might finish early, but I'll probably go lightning round because I'm not gonna lie. Training camp has defeated me. I need to finish getting my standings to see how well I am actually doing against Zelmar Vetter. It's a 2-person race at this point. Jesse Newell also, did a great job of filling in for me on those days when I just couldn't be there early enough to catch Zelmar Vetter. So my tip of the hat to Jesse Newell from The Athletic for also being an early riser. Today I passed him on a highway. He caught up to me in the parking lot. We rode down the golf cart together to the security entrance, and then the guy raced up the hill ahead of me just so he could get there first. I thought we were all in this together. I was offering to hold hands with him across the finish line, but no, he wanted that victory all to himself. I see how it is now. I think I'm a little bit goofy tonight, so that is probably also a little bit of the effect of the sleep deprivation and training camp. And I always tell the new people that come to train at their first training camps, but here's my belief, and I probably have said this before. The job of training camp is to break you. Then it's to build you back up. Then training camp will break you again. And if there's time left, build you back up. No guarantee that you're going to get built up the second time, though. Chris, we'll start with you tonight. You repeat your question from pre-training camp. It will be week 2 or week 3 when Jake Brainingstool becomes tight end 1 for KC. Then Chris, at this point, we got to wait for Jake Brainingstool to make sure he's tight end 4 and then become tight end 3 and then tight end 2 before we're talking about tight end 1. And I'll repeat my concerns from before training camp. I am worried about this tight end room. I entered camp in a pretty maybe I'm trying to choose between rosy and optimistic. Maybe I was rosy. Maybe I was too rosy. Maybe I was too optimistic. I went into training camp with the expectation that I feel like Travis Kelce should be in for about an 800-yard season. I think he still has the juice to get to 800 yards. I don't think this has been Travis's best training camp. There've been some issues, and I think he's still rounding himself into shape. And I say all of this with a bit of a grain of salt, which is that because of the vagaries of the NFL schedule, we're 27 days away from the regular season opener. Even though, I mean, training camp ends in 2 days, and in basically 10 days, the Chiefs will be done with the regular season. In 12 days, they're going to be, having their final roster cuts. Yet it's 27 more days before we get to the regular season opener, which means there's a lot of time left. But I don't think this has been Travis's best camp. I don't think it's been Noah Gray's best camp. And Noah Gray is coming off what was, outside of his rookie year, his worst year. And in a lot of ways, even including his rookie year, was his worst year last year. Jared Wiley professes that he feels 180 degrees better than he did last year. And that's always the case with guys with ACLs. They will always tell you it's the year after they come back, 2 years removed from the injury, that they finally start to feel normal again. And that's to be expected. But we don't know what Jared Wiley's going to be. I don't know what Jake Brainingstool is going to be. I know a lot of people, Chris, sounds like you're one of them, that really encouraged about what you saw against the Rams and some of his moments. And he absolutely had some very good plays and looked good. So it was a good day for Jake Brainingstool. I mean, we still need him to go out there and show that he can be more than maybe what he's been to at this point, and certainly what the Chiefs think. I mean, Chiefs right now, I said he's on the depth chart wise. And you see the work that he gets. You're talking about tight end 4. Is the potential there for more? Sure. He's got the athleticism. He's got the size. There's a lot to like. It's just that you got to see it. And I will grant you this, Chris, and you make a good point, an observation, which is that I do think that this tight end room, because of just, I think the veterans are coming back to the group, and you've got some young guys coming up that maybe they can push them. Brainingstool, it's hard to project that a guy who went undrafted last year and, missed the entire season. It's almost, I mean, we're talking about the Khalil Benson miracle. I mean, if Jake Brainingstool comes out as the leading tight end on this team, that would be as equally as amazing as Khalil Benson becoming the starting offensive lineman for this team this year. Suppose both of them could happen. But this tight end group really has me worried, really has me concerned. We just need to see more out of them. And I don't know. I'm still going to stick with my ridiculously perhaps optimistic view that Travis, I think, can still have an 800-yard year, that he still has it in him, that I think that this offense is going to take some of the pressure off of him. Maybe he doesn't feel that yet because this offense has not been fully healthy and out there and going at full speed. I think he certainly knows that he's got the juice from Kenneth Walker to help him out, but he just needs to see it in the wide receiver room too. And maybe that's going to be enough to get him. And I think we've seen him, Travis, at least at training camp, try to manage his workload a little bit better and give the other guys opportunities when appropriate. Just, you like to see Travis just putting everything away like he used to. And, and he's mentioned it. I think he was in better shape last year at training camp, when he spent the entire basically summer trying to get ready for it and gearing up for what could have probably would have been his last year. I think if the Chiefs had a better year than they did this year, this summer, he's spent it differently. So I don't think he's up to where he wants to be yet. I think there's still some more work to be done, but that's what goes into this tight end room. And I've got my worries, Chris. So you hit a hot button there. Beery Mir, Mr. Beery, I know you've been around before, and I don't know why I have just totally butchered that name, and maybe I haven't done that in the past. How seriously should we be taking Josh Simmons' back condition? It's one day, and he was at practice, and that's, one of my guidelines and rules from, doing this the last 10 years, is just that, you don't take too much away from when guys are injured, but they're attending practice. If Josh Simmons' back was in terrible shape, he would have been back up in the complex getting some physical therapy or rehab whatever it may be. Wouldn't be down at, come down to the field to watch practice and everything. So that's a good sign right there. We don't know what it is. I mean, the last time that we saw him on the football field, he was out running the third team reps because they were down to 4 healthy offensive tackles on Monday. And he was out. At one point, he even waved Khalil Benson off when Benson came out to replace him on the third team and run that left tackle, even though Benson's never done that before. Waved him off. So he felt well enough to do that. Don't know if the back issue popped up later or woke up with it. We'll talk to Andy Reid on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll hear from him a little bit on Wednesday, at least some reporters will. And then he'll close out camp on Thursday. So hopefully we'll get an update there, just on what the nature of that is. But hey, it's Josh Simmons, so I think you're always going to be concerned whenever you're talking about any medical issue with Josh. So take it seriously, maybe just not be overly concerned. Chances are that it's something very minor and not significant. Again, like I said, the Chiefs, behind the scenes are treating all of these injuries that they've got right now as not terribly significant, not long-term issues. So until we hear otherwise, I would say don't be too concerned. Take it seriously, but don't be too concerned at this point. Yeah, Luttrell, you know what? I respect the heck out of Keenan Allen. He's always been a really, really good player. I always thought he felt like he hated the Chiefs too much to come to Kansas City, but boy, the Chiefs were not signed. I mean, I know there's a lot of incentives in that deal, but the Chiefs were not interested in that kind of price point for anybody. So not gonna happen. Carrot 9, how has Jeff Caldwell looked in camp? Okay, I guess is about the best word that I could put with it, and that's not a knock on Caldwell. I think actually he has, I think, looked better than maybe some other players in similar situation to him coming in. I'll be honest, I did not have incredibly high expectations for Caldwell coming into camp. I think he's exceeded my low expectations. That's also a compliment. At least I'm trying to make it one. I just think he has a lot of work to go. And I mean, and that's where we're at. I mean, in camp, he's not really challenging for a bit on the roster. I think he's certainly challenging for an opportunity on the practice squad. There's a lot of guys that could end up on this practice squad, and it's going to be tough to crack it. And it might mean that there's some receivers that get claimed off of waivers and go other teams that might free up a spot. And maybe that's how Jeff Caldwell ends up on the practice squad. A lot to like. Great size. There's some traits there, obviously. He's getting compared to Cyrus Allen in some cases just because the two were teammates in college for a year, but they're two different directions. Caldwell still has a lot of work to do, a lot of learning to do about the wide receiver position. Even just, the little things about route running. I mean, he is, and this is going to be another compliment that's going to probably sound a little backhanded, but I don't mean it that way. He's a lot farther along at this point in his NFL career than Justin Ross was. So even though I that's been a comparison to, I don't make that comparison because I think I take Caldwell more seriously at this point than I did take Justin Ross. And I'll even say Justin Ross in year 2 because he had the injury in year 1. At least the cleanup of the injury in year 1. So, even if you went to year 2, Justin Ross, I mean, I think Jeff Caldwell's further along than that. Just that I think the Chiefs wide receiver room's a little bit better now than it was then. I don't think that there's the opportunity there for him. And like I said, Caldwell, it's got the tools, got the traits, just needs more work. So he's looked okay. Not great, not a failure either. So I think there's more work there to be done. I think they can get more out of him, but just needs more seasoning. Nikki, any significance to DeMarcado not playing until the fourth quarter? I also don't think so there because as I look more and more at the usage that the Chiefs are doing in training camp practices and in that game on Saturday, and what I'm kind of hearing about the usage this week as well, I'm starting to see more comparisons with the Chiefs and how they used Brashard Smith last year. Remember, Brashard Smith was just everywhere. He was he was actually used a lot more than I feel like than Emmett Johnson's been used this year in training camp. I mean, the Chiefs gave him a lot of touches, a disproportionate amount of touches in training camp and the preseason compared to how the Chiefs ended up using Brashard Smith in the regular season. I feel like there's a little bit there that the Chiefs are loading up Emmett Johnson to get him as much work, and they clearly wanted to get him as much work on Saturday against the Rams. Maybe we'll see the same thing, that he's going to be I mean, last week we got Kenneth Walker with one touch, and then basically it was Emmett Johnson coming in immediately and getting a lot of work. We may see that again against the Buccaneers. The way that the depth chart had been working previous to this week and previous to the Rams game had essentially been Walker, DeMercado, or Brashard Smith. Sometimes Brashard Smith was second, DeMercado, but those two guys in tandem, and then Emmett Johnson fourth. This week it's been more Emmett Johnson number two, and then Brashard either 3 or 4, or DeMercado 3 or 4. I don't take it because I think what they wanted to do, Nikki, I got the sense of what they wanted to do against the Rams was just get DeMercado some work and didn't care when it was. But they wanted to get Johnson a lot of touches early. So I think they wanted to do that. They wanted to get Brashard some work. And then it's like, hey, let's get DeMercado some work. I still say, I mean, these 4 guys I think are making the roster. I'd be really stunned if all 4 of them did not make the roster. And then you've got your Matt, how much they're going to play, what their workload is going to be. And again, we still got a month to figure it out. I'm still, just because I know that they still have some worries about Emmett Johnson and pass protection. There's a lot of work to be done there. And we've seen it before. I know some people have the Cyrus Allen concerns that it's going to be the same thing, that it's rookies, that Andy Reid's just not going to play them. Cyrus Allen is going to play. Cyrus Allen is forcing himself onto the field. Emmett Johnson, I mean, there's a legitimate chance that maybe he doesn't play as much in the first half of the season. And that's one of the reasons why they're getting him these touches now, to kind of get him that time, get him up to speed, ramp him up a little bit so that when they start building him up through the season, and then maybe have midway through the season that they're giving him a bit more work. I could see that. We'll see how it plays out, but they like all 4 of those guys. And honestly, I keep saying it. Any one of those 4 running backs on last year's team might have been the starter, might have been the number 1 running back. Maybe Brashard Smith at the time should have been the number 1 running back last year. Maybe he's going to have a great year. We're going to really have some questions about last year's running back group. But I think all 4 of those guys will get some work. I do not read too much into DeMercado, just like I don't read too much into Emmett Johnson getting all the work that he did. I think that's a little bit of giving the rookie his opportunities to feel himself out, get going, and get some experience early on that maybe he won't get in the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season or so. The Joe, are the Chiefs good enough to get through any injuries? Their depth, it's good enough to get through some injuries. Man, I mean, they're getting tested right now, everywhere. I mean, they've got Tyquan's another injury at wide receiver. Obviously, right now, the offensive line injuries are really hitting them hard. Linebacker is not great now because with Jack Cochran out and Drue Tranquill really didn't do any 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. So they were down to 5 linebackers, healthy linebackers on Tuesday. That will be challenging going into this game. But again, I think, you'll probably see the Chiefs ending up doing a lot of dime and nickel coverages with an extra safety out there that will probably help them cover a little bit, but for that absence right there. But then also, it's an opportunity to get Jeff Bossa as much work as possible and as many snaps as needed to get him up to speed and see what he can do, and playing multiple roles as well and filling in for Drue Tranquill. I mean, I don't think that the Chiefs are. I don't know that the roster is good enough to be able to deal with this kind of losses during the season. But again, none of these injuries at this point are. I mean, I would expect, based on what I'm seeing and hearing, that everybody that's injured right now is going to be back at the beginning of the season. I mean, the only one that I might have a pen in right now is Cochran. But even the fact that he was out there today tells me that that's not a season-ending injury, no matter how bad the expression on his face was and how discouraged he seemed on Monday. Didn't seem to be that way on Tuesday. So I don't at this point get the sense that any of these injuries are long term. Like I said, there's some that you may have some questions about whether or not they're going to be nagging injuries, but nothing that's going to be long term. So being a little precautious at this point with the injuries the Chiefs are. We'll see if there's anything that pops up that's going to be more concerning down the road. Dog Petter with the super chat. Sorry, I missed that. I put you a little bit back there, dog. I'm sorry about that. You still think Sam Laporta will be on this team? I mean, I like the way you think. It would be great. I think at this point they probably could need him. I still, you know me, I still have my questions about any player coming in at this point and picking up enough of Andy Reid's offense to be a real threat. And I know Juju Smith-Schuster is about to become a free agent again. I just don't get the Chiefs that are interested in going down that road. But I mean, Laporte is a legitimate, young player, and I mean, I still feel like the Lions would be crazy to let him go and not try to figure out some way to keep him long term. But and I don't know if the Chiefs are willing to give up the resources that it would take to one, keep him, and one, get him, and then two, to keep him. But we've talked about it. I mean, I think you and I both, dog. I mean, we both have concerns about that tight end room and what they're going to do. It's got some concerns. Laporta would be great. I'm not as optimistic as you are, but Dog Petter, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, if the Chiefs do that and Laporta ends up on this team this year, you will get your salute. You will deserve it too. Appreciate the super chat there, bud. Weston, do you think if the Chiefs bring in anybody, are they potentially waiting for roster cutdown day to sign anyone? Yeah, I do think that's one of their factors. And remember, they're going to be high on the waiver wire. Going to be ninth on the waiver wire. So they'll have a better chance, not the world's greatest chance, but a much better than chance than when they're at 31 or 32 on the waiver wire of getting a player that they want. And I do expect that Brett Veach is going to be active, looking around the league and trying to trade guys that he's going to cut for guys that are going to get cut from another team and bypass the waiver wire. I know that he would prefer not to have to give up draft picks to bring in anybody. That's always, there's different ways. I mean, obviously the Chiefs have been pretty good at using the moving up in the draft, or just using, draft spaces and spots to acquire players. So that's a possibility. But yeah, I mean, if there's any more additional roster movement on this team, yeah, I do think that the most likely is going to be during the cut down on August 30th to 53, in and around there. Like I said, you're looking to get players either before they hit waivers. Maybe you look at the waiver wire and putting in your own claims. Again, I mean, the Chiefs, I think they do like some of the talent that they have. I think they could look for upgrades. I think you have to be careful about that, because as we've seen, the Chiefs have made some waiver wire moves and waiver wire trades in the last few years, and there hasn't been a high success rate. I mean, it's been a while since they've hit on one. I mean, Traveris Ward was a great one. Giving up Parker Anger for Traveris Ward worked out really, really well for the Chiefs. Other deals haven't worked out as well. I mean, bringing in Peyton Hendershot. Blanking on the pass rusher from Arizona, which was another case of, trying to shove a 3-4 edge rusher into a 4-3 defense. So I think they'll be on the lookout, Weston. I know, one, they don't want to give up a ton of draft capital for anything if they don't have to. Waiver wire cut downs, absolutely. They could be looking on the waiver wire for some guys too. But in terms of adding anybody, I mean, I still don't get the sense that there's a lot of interest in free agents. So anybody that's out there now, I mean, we've seen Von Miller, we've seen Keenan Allen, we're seeing other guys, end up with other clubs, and the Chiefs have not been part of the conversation at this point. Andrew doubting my actual lightning round skills, and yeah, so far I'm already proving that I have no lightning round game, as Nick would attest to. Emerson Daniels, is Juju returning to KC? I have no reason to believe that he will. Again, it's the Chiefs are trying to get away from that. They're trying to get away from the older veterans that are going to be coming in and kind of clogging up the system a little bit. And this is a great spot for that because, one, if Juju were to come to Kansas City, you don't want him playing in front of Cyrus Allen. If you believe in Jalen Royals, you don't want him playing in front of Jalen Royals. Honestly, right now, I mean, I think that the Chiefs would have more confidence in an Andrew Armstrong than a Juju Smith-Schuster, just the point in their careers that they are. And two, remember that the Chiefs are also trying to develop for the future, and Juju's not part of the future. The Chiefs, again, don't have a ton of interest in bringing in guys that are just one-year solutions. I mean, they want to have their 53-man roster be players that can be 2, 3, 4-year solutions. The guys that are, even if it's undrafted rookie free agents, guys that they can develop into what they need and be around for 4 years. The Emmanuel Ogbah addition is an exception, and wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Tyreek Smith makes the 53 and Emmanuel Ogbah ends up on the practice squad as just depth for the regular season. I think that's a distinct possibility. And if you're talking about that kind of veteran depth, and if Juju wants to come to Kansas City and be on the practice squad, I bet the Chiefs would be interested. I just don't know if he's ready to do that yet because, like I said, I mean, if you're coming into the practice squad, then you're letting 6 guys run in front of you. And that's what the Chiefs want to be a place in. They want to be in a place where they're playing young guys. They don't want to be in a place where they're playing veterans in front of guys that they can and should be developing. So Juju does return. I think it would have to be in that kind of role in the practice squad and just as a depth piece. Was my goofiness under any different tonight, Nikki? That's a great question. I think it's just that I'm sleep deprived, maybe a little protein deprived. I'm not quite sure about that. Maybe I've had too much sugar. I don't know. Just Nikki, everybody prepare for a night of me forgetting people's names, just like I did. Gosh, that guy, what was the guy's name from Arizona? Somebody had to post it, right? It was Cam something or other. I mean, granted, he only played like 3 games, and gosh, wish I could remember, but dang it. Yes, there you go. Mac John. So when you or Nick tweets, they are in team or installs. What does that mean? Team is just exactly what it sounds like. It's 11 on 11. So yeah, if we say that they're in team period or they're in team right now, so 11 guys on both sides going at it. Installs are when it's essentially the offense and the defense are putting in their plays. They're putting in their scheme for the upcoming season. And offensive and defensive installs they're done a little bit differently. Spags does his a little bit differently than maybe some other coaches do. Sometimes they're kind of broken up, so it's not like all 11 defenders that are in one huddle on one side of the field. They break them up and do things sometimes differently. He also does it where he'll go through installs with the starters in one group, and a second group will be working on the other end of the field. Andy Reid in the offense, it's one group is on the field going through their installs, and then the number 2 offense will do it, and then the number 3. And what it really is, I mean, it's that period is the offense or the defense. They're out there and they're going up against air. It's basically a walkthrough. They're going through and they're previewing the plays and they're practicing the plays that they're going to run later in practice against the defense, against the full squad. So, they've already run these plays in a walkthrough. Usually, in this situation, the day before. During the regular season, they're running. They're doing plays that they have run in the walkthrough in the morning. But I believe in training camps, it's the walkthroughs are in the afternoon, and then the next day they come out and they practice what they put in the day before. So in the install period, it's just an offense or a defense against air. They're not going up against players. They're just and the defensively, Andy Reid's offensive installs are more not full speed. They're walkthrough speed, but they're rehearsing these plays and going through them, and so there's no defense. They're able to picture it and run them perfectly, try to work out the kinks, see if their timing is right on everything. And, and they're working on a group of plays together, for instance, one day it's going to be I mean, it can be specific packages. It can be like, okay, here's here's their Mustang package, and be working on all these plays that come from the same personnel groups. There's an install day for red zone, so they're going to put in all their red zone plays, and you're going to run nothing but red zone all day. There's a goal line plays. There's you name it. I mean, any situation you can come up with, pretty much, they're going to have a set, and they're going to have sections of the playbook, and then once you install this, as they say. I mean, it's just kind of you can use that term install in almost any situation, and I hope you can kind of visualize it. I mean, you're just plugging it in. You're plugging these plays into your playbook and what you're going to run, and it's a foundation. I mean, when you do these plays, you're setting things up that you're going to work on and to run throughout the entire season. So, like, an Andy Reid position, he has plays that they're going to run, and these are things that he's probably thinking about running in week 11 against somebody. Maybe he's got somebody specifically in mind that he's like, okay, I know these plays are going to work against the Rams later on down the road. So we're going to work on them now, and we may not touch them again, but we'll have had this work that you can pull on and banked on and everything like that down the road. There's going to be some plays and some things that you do that that you're setting up for later. I mean, Andy Reid's great at this. That's one of his strengths, is running the same play repeatedly, or the same look repeatedly, but doing different things off of it, and different, so that teams will see it and be like, wait a minute, I saw this on film. I saw them run this in week 2. And then, if you're middle linebacker and you're like, okay, everybody get ready for this, and this is what they're going to do, and then they don't do it, well, I mean, that you establish that and you start working on that back in training camp when you put these plays in the very beginning. So, for Andy Reid, it's about putting in that foundation of the plays and the offense, so that you've got that material that you've banked. You can pull it up later, and you always go back and say, yep, we worked on this. We started running this play back in OTAs, so we're good. We got this. That's the basics of it. They had today, I tell you what, they had one that I had not seen, and if I had seen it, it's been a while. Maybe they do it once a year, and it's just so rare that I forget about it. But you may also hear like 7-on-7, which is easy. 7 offensive players, 7 defensive players. It's all, basically no linemen. So it's linebackers and defensive backs versus receivers, tight ends, running backs. And it's just 7-on-7 with the quarterback out there. You got 9-on-7, which is 7 offensive players versus 9 defensive players, and it's all run game. That's all you're doing, is you're just running the football. Then today there was 5-on-5, and as we learned, that was called inside skeleton or inside skelly. So there's another one for your books right there. If you ever see a quarterback out there and they're going 5-on-5 with some receivers and some defensive players out there, they're running inside skelly. So I do have a super chat we need to get to, but Jackson, real quick, how did the Chiefs view R. Mason Thomas inside the building? I hear nothing but good things about R. Mason Thomas. They really like what they have seen so far, is my impression. Hearing a lot of positives. Obviously, they like his pass rush skills. They think that he can really help them as a speed guy on the outside. That's obviously been his strength. He is not built up that strength yet, that muscle yet. So, I thought he struggled a little bit in the run game on Saturday. That was to be expected. I think that's going to be a challenge for him this year. He knows he needs to work on his strength, and that's going to be a long-term improvement goal. But I think that's not necessarily, you want R. Mason Thomas out there in a lot of first or second downs that are running downs. I think you want him to avoid those situations. But as a pass rusher, I think he could have a really good year as a rookie, and Chiefs seem to as well. I mean, they seem to be very, very high on him. Long-term growth, I think you want some more strength and the ability to be able to defend the run. But for right now, as a situational pass rusher this year, I think he's ready to go. Eric Johnston with the super chat. Thank you, Eric. What's the deal on Rashid? Knees shot or okay? I mean, I know there's been some speculation out there that Rashid's knees are in bad shape. I do not see it, and I have not been hearing it. That once again, that debridement procedure that he had this summer to pull out some debris that was causing some inflammation, it's a very minor procedure. And in theory, I mean, once you have that done and you get that material out of there, if it was successful, then should certainly help him as far as getting rid of the swelling and the inflammation that he'd been having and that was causing, some stiffness. I think Rashid's been continuing to look better and better every day. He had really good. He had 2 snaps against Noah Williams early on in 11 on 11 that I thought was interesting because the first one, if I remember the order correctly, the first one I think he just absolutely beat Noah Williams. Did a really good job of getting open and came up with the pass, and then I think it was the next one that Noah Williams got his revenge. So I mean, I feel like Rashid's looked pretty good. I mean, like I said, I feel like he's been looking better every day. I thought he was really stiff when he first got back onto the field, and especially in some of the 7 on 7 and 11 on 11 work. Looked a little slow and stiff. There was one clip, and once again, this goes back into my pet peeves about practice, and I'm not as sharp as Mitch Schwartz when it comes to watching practices and be able to break down film, which is one reason why I don't do it. I mean, there's so many people who are better at that than I am. I'll stick to my strengths about telling you, what to see. But one of the things I can tell you, and this kind of goes back to our question about, like water installs and everything. If you see highlights and from a practice for the Chiefs and you see one color of jersey, and specifically in this case, if you see just red jerseys, that's probably an install. And that means that the offense is going up against air. And it also means that they're not going full speed. I saw someone had taken a clip of Rashee Rice during an install period and posted it as he's not running really fast, doesn't look very good. Looks like that knee's a problem. Well, he's running an install route against air at walk-through pace. Yeah, he looks slow. I mean, he's supposed to look slow. He's not trying to run fast. That's, you gotta know the context sometimes. And if you know the context, then you can comment on things. But if you don't know the context, then, probably don't know what you're talking about. But hey, Eric, I probably have been seeing some of the same things and hearing the same things I have too. And I don't really know where they're coming from. I don't doubt anyone's sources. I know we all have different sources and hear different things. But I haven't just not heard anything that there's a long-term issue or concern with Rasheed's knees. I mean, proof's in the pudding. We're going to find out in week 1. And certainly the Chiefs have not been managing Rasheed like to think that there's anything wrong with those knees because they've been continuing to just add on to his workload to the point where right now, I mean, it looks like he's pretty much a full go out there. He's out there consistently. So I don't see there's I don't see there's any issues with those knees. And 2, I certainly don't see any restrictions that the Chiefs have on him. Carrot, what issues has Kelsey been having? The 2 ones that are specific is just that, one, he and Mahomes have not been completely on the same page, and it looks a little bit timing related, as Joe, that Kelsey's just been a little bit slower, maybe out of his cuts, out of his blocks. I mean, that his timing on his routes has just not been as crisp. Not always, it seems like exactly where Mahomes thinks that he anticipates is maybe the better word, anticipates where he's going to be. Some balls have been a little off target. There was a play today that Mahomes put the ball a little bit in front of Kelsey, and Kelsey just, had put out one hand to try and grab it. And, it seemed like 2 things. One, prime Kelsey would have either been there and been able to get 2 hands on the ball, or 2, even, subprime Kelsey. I don't like the way that board came out, but Kelsey is not as fast and quick as he used to be. If he could get one hand on that ball, he still might haul it in. Well, he hit one hand on that one and kind of bats it up in the air. Was not intercepted, but could have been. There have been drops, and that's the other. I mean, obviously we've been seeing that the last couple of years. That's been an issue for Travis, that he's had drops that have turned into turnovers. The drops have still been there. I mean, he's dropping more passes than Travis Kelce normally does. So I put them in kind of in one category, but there's 2 different ones. I mean, sometimes it's just He's had some of the, what we've seen, maybe the concentration ones, the ones where maybe he's just trying to go too fast. I mean, again, these all kind of come back to Travis is trying to compensate for the fact he's not as fast and quick as he used to be. He's smarter than anybody else he's going to be going up against. And that's one of the ways that he is going to continue to win matchups and find ways to get open, because he's smart and he's seen everything. So he can outthink other defensive guys. He knows what the defensive guys are going to do sometimes before they do it, and before they know that they're going to do it. He can anticipate those things. But the timing with him and Mahomes, so been some overthrows. I mean, there's just been issues where you can tell Travis isn't where Patrick anticipates he's going to be. And then two, there are times when Travis has dropped balls that he normally would catch. So when I talk about Travis's issues, those are the primary ones that I've been seeing in camp. Danny, hey Matt, do you think we sign an offensive lineman just to get through the preseason games? I mean, it's possible the Chiefs have an addition here in the next couple of days. I mean, the bad thing is that, if you add somebody right now, I mean, you got to cut somebody, and the Chiefs don't necessarily want to do that just to sign an offensive lineman to get them through a few days. The other thing is that they really don't have an offensive lineman that I would say is somebody that they could bring in that could help you solve a problem. I mean, you would need somebody that knows at least your offense a little bit. So not a great solution. I mean, there might be some guys who are willing to come in and, play for a few days, but again, you need those players, that person available that wants to come in and do it. It's a mixed bag. And, I was asked earlier today, I mean, did the Chiefs have anybody, from the interior guys that they could move outside? I really don't see that either. I mean, most of the guys that they have inside, guard and tackle ability and swing ability, there are the guys that are hurt, unfortunately. Even going back to college, I mean, gosh, I actually have in the back of my head, I guess maybe Hunter Norzad did play tackle at some point in his past. I don't think Caliendo ever did. There might be one of the other guys, maybe a Josh Thompson does or somebody like that. But again, they don't want to just shove somebody out there. So how do you get through this preseason game? I mean, hey, maybe we're overreacting. Maybe Josh Simmons is going to be ready to go. And now instead of 4, now you got 5 offensive tackles, and at least somebody that can help you get through a couple of series and take the load off of somebody else. But then again, at the other side of things, you got some guys that need some work. So if this is a matter of that you've got 4 tackles for this game and you're going to have Jalen Moore and Khalil Benson start, and then you're going to have Essapole and Ethan Driscoll coming after them, there's honestly nothing wrong with letting Ethan Driscoll and Essapole play the rest of the game. They need the work, and they'll gladly take the work. So it's not an issue for me. I mean, obviously the issue would be is if one of those guys gets dinged up, and now you have to bring back in a Jalen Moore or a Khalil Benson. Not an ideal solution. There's no really good solution. I mean, I think if you're the Chiefs, you're hoping that, like I said, maybe a Josh Simmons gets back, maybe Matt Waletzko is able to get back, maybe a True Godric. I mean, you got 3 or 4 guys there that you're hoping that maybe 1 or 2 of them can get back and give you some flexibility and just give you some extra bodies for this weekend. But otherwise, I mean, hey, if it's the regular season and you got 4 tackles, you're fine. It's not a concern. And I don't have any problems with, like I said, Driscoll and Pole going out there and playing every snap if they have to. I mean, I think they're willing to do it. I think they'd be glad to do it. I think Driscoll played a decent number of snaps against the Rams, so don't think that's a problem. Guys need to play, so let them play. And yes, Joe, thank you for reminding me to remind everybody else that, hey, hit the like button if you don't mind. And if you want to just verify that you're a subscriber, check it out. Make sure that you are a subscriber. If you're not, please subscribe. If you are, just click it again to make sure you're still subscribed, or renew it. I don't know how these things work. I mean, people tell me that sometimes you have to do that every once in a while just to get your notifications to pop up. But truly appreciate all the support, everybody. If you can like or subscribe, it would be a big help. Danny, Armstrong is going to make the 53, right? I just don't see how he would clear waivers. Plus, he has earned a spot, in my opinion. I'm with you. I think he's earned a spot. I think he's played really, really well. I mean, this will be another one of my lessons to learn about training camp and cut down. You're always going to overvalue your own receivers. Every team does. Every team thinks that their fifth or sixth receiver, if they get put on waivers, are not going to make it. I mean, Armstrong's been on a couple of teams already, been around the league a little bit. Yeah, I mean, go back to December and January. I mean, he was on the market for an extended period of time and could have signed anywhere. Anybody could have had him. Now, it doesn't mean that people aren't going to see film and think, okay, well, maybe we should have signed this guy, and that they'll put on a claim for him. But I mean, you're always going to overvalue your own guys, and everybody thinks, oh gosh, there's like 6 players the Chiefs are going to put on waivers, and they're going to lose them all. I mean, chances are you're not going to lose any of them. I mean, maybe there's only one of them is going to get claimed. I think Armstrong would probably clear waivers. Here's the tricky thing though, and Morial, I hope that's right. 312. Is that Miami? I think so. In your opinion, does Armstrong make the 53 over Remigio, or did the Chiefs keep 7 wide receivers? I mean, I think the least likely option is the Chiefs keep 7. I think that would be hard to do with some of the other roster questions that they've got, especially when you're wanting to maybe keep a 4th tight end, and you might have to keep a 3rd quarterback. You're probably going to keep 4 running backs, so the numbers get a little tricky there. It's going to be hard to keep an extra guy at 3 of those spots. Maybe it's only going to be 2 that you're going to be able to do. But in the Armstrong Remigio conversation, Remigio's spot has less to do with Armstrong than it's got to do with, can the Chiefs find and identify another kick returner and a punt returner that they're comfortable with. If Emmett Johnson can return kicks and they feel comfortable about that, maybe you can keep 6 wide receivers, and Armstrong's one of them, and that would mean Remigio goes on waivers. Here's the thing I will say that will be counterintuitive to most of you, is that between Armstrong and Remigio, I'm pretty comfortable that the more difficult one to get through waivers would be Remigio. Because there's always teams. I mean, and we got 2 more games to get through of the preseason. One, there's already teams that are not happy with their return specialists, that they've got guys that are putting the ball on the ground, or guys who just are not performing, that they need help. And there's going to be some teams that get some guys hurt here in the next couple of games, and now all of a sudden they thought they had a kick returner, now they don't. And remember, every team needs 2. And you know what? Your punt returner goes down and you only had 1, you need 1. I think there's a better chance that Remigio gets claimed by a team that needs a kick returner or a punt returner than would claim Armstrong to be one of their, top 5, top 6 receivers. So, I mean, think about it in that sense. I mean, if you're talking about the Chiefs keeping 7, I mean, is anybody else going to keep 7 wide receivers because they can claim Andrew Armstrong? You're always going to overvalue your own guys. So, and when it comes to those 5th, 6th, 7th spots at receiver, I mean, think about this. I mean, you got a lot of Chiefs fans who are not happy with their wide receivers as it is. So why would you think that somebody else is going to want your 7th wide receiver? Now, I like Andrew Armstrong. I think there's a lot of upside. I've also seen a lot more of him than 31 of the other 32 NFL teams. They're not watching these practices as much like this. I mean, they'll send some scouts, but they're not seeing every film on every single one of these practices. They're going to see the preseason games, and that's about it. So they're not seeing the same things. They might be hearing some things, and they might be seeing some things that get posted on Twitter, but they're not seeing the same things that we're seeing in St. Joe, and they're not hearing the same things. So they're not going to value Andrew Armstrong as much as Chiefs fans do, and the people who are local. So I think you can get into that fallacy and that trap sometimes. I think if you want to hold on to Andrew Armstrong, I think you probably can. I do think he has earned a spot, though. So I have no problems trying to keep him. And I like Andrew Armstrong. I think I've been impressed with him going back to OTAs. Going back to rookie minicamp, honestly, I mean, he's stood out there. He and Cyrus Allen, I thought, were the 2 best receivers at that rookie minicamp. So I wouldn't mind seeing him. So yeah, both of you, Danny and Morial. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I mean, to this point, I'm not sure that the Chiefs have made a compelling case that they can move on from Nico Remigio. And if that's the case, I think they'd still like to keep both those guys. Chris, don't you belong in a Hall of Fame if you get a surgery named after you? Rest in peace, Tommy John. I'm old enough to remember watching Tommy John pitch. Now, granted, I mean, he was like 46 at the time, but I think you belong in the Hall of Fame if you have 288 wins and, you had a surgery named after you. I mean, how many? I know Tommy won quite a few games after the surgery. Had he never had the surgery, never required the surgery, he would have easily won 300 games. So I think 288 is close enough. And again, I always hate it when guys, pass away before they're able to go into their respective Hall of Fames and then they go into the Hall of Fame. That's not the right way to do it. And I get it. You want to keep things pure and you want to keep things restricted and you want to keep these things special, but 288 wins and you have a surgery named after you. Yeah, I think Tommy John deserved that a long, long time ago going into the Hall of Fame. But Emerson, your thoughts on wide receiver Steve Smith, Agent 89 comments on Jalen Royals. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't read them in depth and closely. I've kind of just heard about them and looked at them that way and everything. So I didn't watch any of the clips or of that. I mean, I know that Steve Smith, wasn't he? Oh, it was Worthy. I think that he was critical of before maybe. So maybe I may be confusing what he said and everything like that. So maybe I should probably go look it up real quick, Emerson. I tell you what, I'm gonna star you and come back to that because I need to double check and make sure what I'm doing there. So I'm going to multitask and pull it up and make sure that I'm not just talking about my behind. Travis, could we replace Royals on the practice squad and keep Armstrong? I mean, this gets in. I mean, again, overvaluing your own receivers. I mean, I would normally say that the principle would be that if you're willing to put a receiver on waivers, there's a decent chance that they could clear waivers. Here's what I would say, though, is that, a guy that you just drafted last year versus a guy that I'm trying to remember if Andrew Armstrong was he an undrafted free agent? I'm trying to remember if he ended up getting drafted or not. Was he? Yeah, he was undrafted, and it was last year. But so you're talking about a guy taken in the 4th round last year versus a guy who was undrafted last year. I mean, there's going to be a lot more teams willing to take a chance on Jalen Royals than on Andrew Armstrong. So if you're going to get one of them onto the practice squad, it's the guy that it's going to be is. I'm going into a squirrel mode here, so I'm going to try and stop doing that. Nikki, that's another one of those things what I mean by being goofier than usual. I mean, you're going to be easier to get Andrew Armstrong onto the practice squad than Jalen Royals. And I mean, Royals hasn't been terrible. I mean, do I think that Andrew Armstrong's had a better camp than Jalen Royals? Yeah, I think I would say that. Might even have a little bit more upside. Hard to say. But again, the other part of it too is that, I mean, I could make the case for Andrew Armstrong that even though he played 2 years at Arkansas, he also played 3 years at Texas A&M Commerce. Not the toughest schedule and not the toughest competition to go up against, so that he's got some room to improve. But I could also say it about Jalen Royals that, he was a late bloomer. He was a late comer, didn't play big time, high end college football. He played at a lower level, both in Georgia at the Military Institute and then going out to Utah State. Once again, not the toughest competition. You would probably say, I mean, based on obviously draft position alone, you'd say Jalen Royals has more upside. So that's the guy you're probably going to keep. The Chiefs do not have a rich history, especially under Brett Veach, of walking away from draft picks before year 3. I mean, usually have to get to at least their 3rd year before they're even thinking about that. And, I mean, what? Kamal Haddon's about the only guy I can think of right now that the Chiefs have released even this early under Brett Veach. There might be. Well, I mean, I guess I could say that. I mean, they waived Nazeeh Johnson and put him on the practice squad their rookie year. So there's probably another one or two like that I'm forgetting, but not a 4th round pick like Royals. I mean, that would be extraordinary. So I think it's the short answer, Travis. I don't think you can pull that off, but like I said, I think they both have legitimate shots for the roster. So I think they both have made their case. Doctor Who, Juju buying a house in Overland Park. We don't do that here. Of course not, Mizzou 19. No. So you're probably both just being silly. I know Doctor Who was being silly. Mizzou, I hope you were just being sarcastic back to Doctor Who. So no, we don't do buying houses here. We don't buy so-and-so was buying a plane ticket. We don't do so-and-so was at Jack Stack. No, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Tommy Sparks, can the Chiefs please pass on adding Juju and develop young wide receivers? Yes, they absolutely can, and I believe that they absolutely will. Like I said, about the only way that I could possibly see Juju coming to Kansas City is if he's willing to accept a place on the practice squad. That I could possibly see. But again, Emmanuel Ogbah on the depth chart, that's why I say there's a reasonable chance that he doesn't even beat out Tyreek Smith for that spot at defensive end. He's going to, I think, be the 5th or 6th guy. There might be some other veterans who ended that spot. Cater Kohu may be in that position. Now maybe another team picks him up. He is, if I'm not mistaken, he's a vested veteran. So I think Kohu would be a free agent immediately and can sign with anyone. Wouldn't have to go through waivers. But also doesn't mean he can't come back to Kansas City on the practice squad. If the Chiefs choose to go that direction, there's a handful of other veterans that may end up in that kind of spot that maybe the Chiefs would prefer to have as depth on the practice squad and keep some younger guys that are, undrafted, year 1, 2, 3 guys that they have a little bit more team control over. It could be even their own draft picks. If you're talking about guys like Jalen Royals and such. So, yeah, I do think that the Chiefs will keep their own receivers and develop them. And like I said, if I brought in Juju and I'm Brett Veach, I would only bring him in with the understanding that, hey, Juju, you got a spot on the practice squad, but that's it. Callie Cash, Madden has L'Jarius Sneed starting. Do you think that's actually a realistic option for the Chiefs this season? I have a hard time seeing the scenario, Callie. On the one hand, Monsieur Delane and Noel Williams are most likely going to be the starters. 2, this training camp has made it abundantly clear, L'Jarius Sneed is not in a place to be, playing 100% of the snaps over 17 games. The other consideration is, okay, well, what if he was a part-time starter, part-time player, and it was in the slot? Well, we haven't seen that. They haven't had a chance to practice that. Chris Roland Wallace has been nailing that down. You drafted Jaden Canaday to do that. We got Cater Kohu that we just talked about. Kevin Knowles might end up being a practice squad guy that can do that too. There's a lot of guys who can do that. And, I think at this point in his career and with the injury history, you should be betting on him being a backup player. Now, the great thing about Madden is that nobody in Madden has a chronic knee condition. So you don't have to worry about, Sneed and, having to worry about practice that week and, making sure that he gets like Wednesdays and Thursdays off or Wednesdays and Fridays and just practices on Thursdays. We've already seen what load management for L'Jarius Sneed looks like. But so I don't see it. I think that's just strictly Madden going on who has the highest rate and plugging it in. So John Smith, anecdotally, it seems like the Chiefs have had more injury at this year's camp. Do you have any metrics around that? Do you think Andy needs to reexamine how he runs his training camp? I can go back and look and see what the injuries were this time, like last year, for instance. And if I remember correctly, I feel like last year was actually a pretty good year injury wise. So you'd have to look at a couple of years. But on one hand, no, I don't feel like there's a lot more. And teams, I think they're always cautious with injuries. I think the Chiefs have probably been a little bit more cautious this year with injuries than in some other years. They're, this is a weird year for them. I mean, they're on one hand, they're not afraid to get some guys some reps. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, hey, if they needed to, oppress a Trey Smith into duty, I mean, they would. But they see no reason to do that because they got, Khalil Benson that they're trying to get some work and Jalen Moore trying to get some work. So they can slow those guys down. Maybe it's the same issue with the back issue on Josh Simmons today. It was just let him sit out. Maybe he'll be back tomorrow. But in the meantime, you get to put Jalen Moore and Khalil Benson at tackle and let them both get some work. And Jalen Moore gets, if he's needed at left tackle during the season, he's getting some work right now. There's certainly some players that they've been pretty cautious with. I mean, Delane, maybe not even been terribly cautious with. I mean, they were letting him go out there in that yellow non-contact jersey when clearly he wasn't ready to go full go, but they were still being kind of cautious with him. I think there's probably a couple of the guys right now, John, that if they had to have them play, they could play. They're just being a little cautious. I mean, some of these injuries, I mean, you start looking at hamstrings and quads and groins. Those are training camp injuries. Those are soft tissue injuries that are absolutely going to happen this time of year. It happens to every team. I would only be re-examining how I run my training camp if I'm Andy Reid. If I got guys with bad injuries, if I'm putting 6 guys on injured reserve, and the Chiefs have been in that spot before, where they got a bunch of guys on injured reserve. They've only had one guy end up on injured reserve so far in this year's training camp. I'm not counting John Michael Gillenborg because even though he ended up on injured reserve, he got injured back in OTA, so he was injured during the summer. Ethan Downs is the only player who's been injured so far in this camp that they've put on injured reserve, because I think those are the only 2 guys that they've got on IR. They've got Omar Norman Lott on the PUP list, and he extended back to, his injury was last October. And so I'm not too worried about that. And again, no, I think my guess is if I went back and looked at the last 5 years, I think this year's probably about normal. It's just that sometimes you get hit in the wrong places, and right now they're getting hit at tackle at the wrong time in the wrong place. Kind of got hit at linebacker is their lightest position right now, and they got the hit there twice right now. So some of it's just bad luck, John. But tell you what, there's some teams, oh gosh, who was it? Is it the 49ers or some team I was reading about the other day that had 20 guys that were out? And I think it may have been the 49ers. That's an injury problem. So Chiefs aren't quite there yet. And no, this was my squirrel moment, Clinton, earlier when you said Cam Thomas. Thank you very much. Yes, that was the edge rusher from Arizona that didn't quite work out in Kansas City. It's one of those roster waiver wire kind of moves. John P., what is Snead's role in the cornerback room? Is he CB1 or CB2 ahead of either Knoll or Delane when healthy? I mean, I really don't believe so. I mean, I think he's here to be an additional depth piece, and maybe that makes him quarterback 3, maybe cornerback 4. I think if he's healthy, I think he's ahead of Christian Fulton. But again, I haven't seen him healthy so far this training camp, and I haven't seen him at 11 on 11 healthy. I mean, really, by and large. So that's what we need to see. I don't know, because I'll tell you what, the guy that played for Tennessee the last 2 years and played, was it 12 games over the last 2 seasons? I mean, that guy's not a starter. So he wasn't. He's not at the level that we've seen. Now, playing back in this defense with Spags that knows how to use him, and I think he's well suited to this defense. Maybe that makes a difference. He can play in the slot, and maybe that's as a part-time role and a part-time starter. Maybe that's right up his alley. But again, I mean, I think that more than likely he's going to be a backup. And like I said, can be a backup at nickel, be a backup on the outside. He can do a lot of things for you. But I don't know if he's got the knees to play 1,000 snaps over 17 games. I mean, I think there's some load management that you have to do there. And I certainly got the impression when the Chiefs signed L'Jarius Sneed that it was not to be a starter, but that it was to be a depth piece. And I think that's where he will eventually land. So Mizzou 19, what was the rush in signing Agbo when we probably could have still gotten him in September? Please don't say to learn the system, because the advantage in signing former Chiefs is that they've already familiar. I mean, it was 7 years ago, but I'm not going to say learn the system. Let me, because last I looked, I did not see his contract, but my understanding is that this was a men's salary deal. So let me pull him up real quick, Mizzou, and make sure, because it's not really a rush as much as it's, it's a 1 year, 1.3 million vet minimum deal. It's not a, and they get a veteran discount on that too, so it even counts less against the cap for that. The only rush, and to a certain degree, is, hey, you bring the guy in before some other team does, and maybe that was the case. Maybe the Chiefs had been in contact with Ogba and his agent, said we're interested. If anybody else calls, let us know. Maybe another team called. You do want. You say going into September. If you're going to bring a guy in, you want him to knock the rust off. You want him to play. You want him to be in with your team. And remember, outside of Chris Jones, I don't think there's anybody on this defense that he played with in 2019. So it's less about learning the system, more about learning your teammates, picking up the changes that have happened since then, but also just getting ready to play and knock off the rust. If you're going to need the guy in September, you don't want him to show up now. So I got no problem. It's a low risk deal. There's like nothing. It looks like nothing guaranteed in this. There's no real, this is the definition of a low risk deal, Mizzou. So I would not lose any sweat about that. And like I said, it's a depth move. That's what it is. They are not bringing in Emmanuel Ogbah to take snaps away from R. Mason Thomas, from Ashton Gelati, anybody like that. Your follow-up question, Mizzou 19. In your opinion, it's tough to give up 25% of the remaining cap to a guy they view as a pure depth. Rather wait for cut downs or not spend it all, or get someone who moves the needle like Leonard Floyd. There's a couple of things I can give you background on this to explain a little bit about the cap number. Essentially, when you look at like the cap value as of now, and let me see where. Since I'm on SpoTrack right now, looking at Emmanuel Ogbah's numbers, let me go to them and see what their number for the Chiefs is right now. Because Ogbah's salary cap hit is round up 1.1 million. The Chiefs, they've got the Chiefs right now at 4.2 million in cap space. Now the thing is that when you look at like their current available cap space, Emmanuel Ogbah barely added anything to the cap, because right now the cap only counts the top 51 contracts, and the Chiefs have $4.2 million in cap space counting their top 51. I could do the math. Anybody can do the math. It would be really close. Once the cap goes to every contract, it's going to be really close. So I think the Chiefs are going to probably be over it by a little bit, because when you go from counting the top 51 contracts, to adding contracts 52 and 53, you're going to add anybody who's on injured reserve. And right now the Chiefs got two relatively inexpensive players on injured reserve, but that's going to be over $1 million combined for both of those guys. Then you add in your practice squad guys, which again is not a ton, but that's going to get you between $2 and $3 million of cap space. So like I said, between those groups alone and 152 and 53, you're probably going to be eating up that $4.2 million at that point. And that's when they're going to have to free up some cap space. They're able to add Emmanuel Ogbah. They're able to add any minimum salary player that they want right now. They can sign any minimum salary player like Ogbah that they want to right now and have almost no impact on the salary cap. Right now, their 51st contract is CJ Hansen, who oddly enough is at $1.075 million. That's the exact same money that Emmanuel Ogbah's making. So that's where he comes in, right? Right at that money. Eventually, if the Chiefs were to sign somebody else at that level or above, their 52nd player would be making $1.075 million. So you could sign somebody right now for $1.075 million. Your salary cap space right now would not change. Now, once you get to the regular season, it's going to change. And that's when the Chiefs, like I said, They might be close. They might be at the ability right now where they could actually go into the season, and they might have, hey, who knows, $139 in cap space left. But they are going to have to free up some more space. They're going to have to renegotiate a contract at some point. But he's not taking up any space right now. So once again, don't worry about that. He literally has no impact on the salary cap right now. So don't stress about it. Eric, how has Delane looked this week? How could he and Noel be as a duo the next 2 seasons? I thought Delane's looked fine. I mean, he looks like a guy who just got a non-contact yellow jersey off and has seen his first action, but I think he's been pretty aggressive. He's been playing faster than obviously he was when he was kind of just holding back a little bit. But now that he's been medically cleared and they're letting him run a little bit, he's better. I mean, has he had some challenges? Yeah. I mean, there's still, some things that he's going to be working on, and Spags has talked about that, and he needs to get his timing down and all of those things. And a lot of that stuff, I mean, it's also all going to come in playing. I'll be very interested to see if they let him go this week in the preseason game. If they do, then that's a pretty good indication about how they feel about that shoulder blade and that it's ready to go. I've seen enough flashes from Delane to see that he is the guy. I can see the guy that they drafted. He's not out there yet. I mean, he's just still. I mean, you just see the stiffness that comes with what he's been allowed to do to this point. He's not been allowed to play at 100%. So he's got some work to do, but you can see the elements of the guy that he can be out there. It's not like he's just all of a sudden, taking off the yellow jersey and is just like lighting the place up, but you can see the flashes. So I do like what you got there. And hey, what can those two guys be? I mean, Noel was, a guy that had a lot of upside, a really high ceiling as a corner, and he's got pretty good size. And I thought he did really well last year against bigger receivers. So I like that. I like what he could possibly be. I mean, he and Delane, here's the thing. I mean, Delane, you're hoping is a shutdown corner. And the thing about shutdown corners is that if they become shutdown corners, nobody throws at them. So that's where, you're going to need Noel Williams to be a productive ball hawk. And I think he's got that ability. I think it's in him. I thought he's looked really good. I mean, when you're talking about just watching these Chiefs corners, I mean, it's pretty clear that Noel Williams is the best corner on this team that is not Mansour Delane. I mean, I'm kind of putting Delane in just an unranked category right now. I expect he's going to be the best corner on this team right now, as far as the guys who have been playing all the snaps. It's Noel Williams, and I don't think it's terribly close. He's had a really good camp. I think he's been very consistent, which has been a problem for some of the other guys. So I think they can be a good duo. I mean, again, if Mansour Delane becomes a shutdown corner that you hope he is, Noel Williams is going to get thrown at a lot. So he and whoever ends up in the slot in the next couple of years, and Jaden Canada is the long-term solution for that, you hope. That's the case. I mean, those two guys are going to get challenged. You need them to be able to make plays. So, Nikki, what about Sneed's knees? Can he run? In burst. I mean, again, it comes back to, and I thought about mentioning this earlier in the question about, and actually, I apologize. I think this was a conversation I was having earlier today that came up about Sneed and his agility. That hasn't really been a problem. I mean, the problem is it's the miles. I don't think that it's the twitch and the quick moves that are the problems for L'Jarius. I think the problems are the number of snaps and the amount that he runs and all the things that he does, and that's what has to be managed. I mean, it's kind of like at this point I could say that you feel like L'Jarius and those knees just have so many steps. It's not that he can't run. It's not that he can't move laterally. It's not that he can't do these things. It's just that when he does, it hurts and he gets inflamed and he gets swelling and all of these things. And the more he does, the more it swells and, bothers him. So, it's not like you're protecting him by making it so that he doesn't have to move side to side, or he's not, doing certain things. It's you're managing the work, and yeah, you can't have him running around and practice all week and play on Sunday because his knees are probably going to be swollen. I mean, that was the reality of what it was in Kansas City, and it sounds like it was what the reality was in Tennessee. So it's more about just keeping the mileage down, Nikki. It's, he's I don't want to make a bad comparison here, but he is a sports car that you can let him go out and you can let him run, but you gotta be careful with the mileage. You can't put unlimited miles on the guy. Ethan, did you know that there are 5.85 million heads of cattle in Kansas, yet just under 3 million people? I didn't know the specific numbers, Ethan, but that does not surprise me at all. And do you know of any Chiefs players that farm in the offseason like Jordy Nelson did? Not specifically. I know that Cooper McDonald has some family in southern Missouri that have some farm property down there, and he has spent some time with them and everything. So I would not be surprised if Cooper McDonald has spent some time around some cattle in his life. There's got to be probably I'm sure a few others. So I wouldn't be surprised. I would bet that there's a few others out there, Ethan. So, and having grown up around cattle myself, I find it all fascinating. So, John, what's your evaluation of Gilman? Seems like Spags expected him to be further along. Is that fair? It's a good question, because I'll be honest. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of issues with Gilman. I mean, I did get the sense during OTAs and minicamp that that Spags might have been worried a little bit about Gilman and everything. I feel like it's better than that now. I mean, they haven't been holding him back in any ways. I mean, they've been letting him play. I think a big part of it is just him getting comfortable in the defense, and that seems to be happening. I thought that the last time we talked to Spags, that felt like that, he was a little bit more comfortable with Gilman, and Gilman was more comfortable with the defense, and all those things coming together. So, and I know he took a lot of heat the other day, for going up against Travis Kelce and probably like a 3/4 speed rep in a drill that doesn't really matter. But I haven't seen any issues with Gilman. It seems like I think he's coming along nicely. I mean, again, want to see more of him on the field and in real action and everything to make a good judgment. But I can't say that I feel like that he's had poor play or had any issues of any of that nature. I mean, this Chiefs offense on occasion is going to embarrass you, but I haven't seen a lot of reasons to be worried about Gilman. I know there's metrics that on some of Gilman stuff that people have real issues with him, and he's not graded out well. There's others in which he comes out just fine. I mean, when I watch his film from last year, I don't see any huge issues. As a matter of fact, it looked like somebody who could probably help the Chiefs out. And once again on the practice field, I mean, I haven't seen any serious issues with him, John. So, I mean, is he going to be the best free safety in the league? Probably not. But is he going to be effective? I think he should be. Doctor Who, my sources tell me that Tyreek Hill will be on the Chiefs by the end of the year. Truth be told, I don't have any sources. Well, at least you're honest about that, Doctor Who. I will take the opposite. I still don't think that Tyreek Hill will be on this roster. I'm not sure if Tyreek Hill is going to be on any roster by the end of the year, but I mean, I know his arms are getting really good, so he doesn't miss arm day. John, Matt, seems like the Rams 2s and 3s were better than the Chiefs. Is that fair? Here will be my counter to that. I mean, you could probably say that because, hey, the score was 20-12, so Rams won it. So sure, they're better. Their 2s and 3s are better than your 2s and 3s. It was a one-score game in a preseason game where neither team was really trying to out. Here, I will say, this is where I was going with this, is that where I was going to say neither team was really trying to out-scheme the other. Except the Rams, were running their bootlegs, and they learned that they saw they were working, and they just ran those boots all day long. I mean, the Chiefs, now granted, never really figured out, the young guys on the 2s and 3s never figured out how to stop it. That's where they were most effective. But I didn't see like two teams that were just dramatically, I didn't see a Rams team that was dramatically outclassing the Chiefs. I mean, like I said, it looked like a fairly competitive game for the most part. So I didn't think it was two just distinctly different teams out there. But then again, you look at what is it, an 8 or a 9 game losing streak that the Chiefs have in preseason games. You would say that the long-term evidence is that the Chiefs 2s and 3s have not been as good as most of the NFL over the past few years. So it may just be a long-term issue that, and again, if my 3s aren't as good as some other teams' 3s, what do I care? My 3s aren't gonna be on the team in, September. The 2s, I mean, the 2s looked like maybe played kind of straight up a little bit. I mean, your 1s that were in there against your 2s, your 1s kind of roughed up their 2s a little bit. Once again, without it really even trying. I mean, Chiefs offense did not run anything exotic whatsoever. I mean, they weren't running anything like the Rams. I mean, Rams, I don't think boots are exactly exotic, but they found something that worked and they just kept running it. I mean, Chiefs, neither team's game planned or scheme for this really specifically. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a whole lot that you can take away from that game. If you want to say that, hey, the Rams 2s and 3s beat yours, that's true. I didn't think there was a lot of distinction between them, and I thought it was closer between the 2s, the 3s. Rams 3s won, but then again, Rams 3s aren't going to be on the field in September. John, buy or sell Armstrong making this team, man. I mean, this is going to be the toughest decision on the roster projection that I've got going right now. And I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to have a hard time putting a 7th wide receiver on there. Man, it's a tough call. It really is. And again, at least we got 12 more days before we have to make that decision. And it could change a lot between now and then, John. But I mean, I'm probably really. I mean, given the choice, I'm holding on to my stock right now, John. I'm not making a decision. I'm going to try and punt that down the road. I don't want to buy or sell too early. So, I mean, right now I'm probably leaning towards him leaving off because I do think at this point, until proven otherwise, the Chiefs are going to have to keep Nico Remigio. And I don't want it to sound like a negative because, I mean, Nico's a good player. He's perfectly fine. And he gives you something that you need, which is reliability. Chiefs are just looking for some electricity. If they can find somebody to give them some electricity, they'll go that direction. I mean, maybe him and Burchard teamed up on kick returns can give you both reliability and maybe some electricity. On punt returns, maybe, you go for reliability, but if you need a home run, maybe that's when you go to Burchard. We'll see what they do, but I would probably, if forced to choose, John, right now, I would say sell, but I don't like that decision. I'm not happy with it. I would like to wait, and we'll see what happens on down the road. Joe, can Chiefs protect players on the practice squad from other teams taking them? No. I mean, there's some rules about how teams can't poach players off another team's practice squad week before they play them, but that's about it. That's about the extent of it. And gosh, you don't even have I'm trying to remember. I don't even think you have the protection rule anymore where you get to like protect 2 guys each week. I don't think you have that anymore. I think that was just a COVID era thing, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I mean, no, there's not really any protections that you can do to prevent another team. Now, what you can do is that if another team comes and offers them a contract, you can put them on your 53. So there is some insurance there. Now, there's also the issue sometimes that sometimes a player's just going to sign with another team's 53 and not give you a chance to promote them. I mean, it can happen. So I'm the Brown. Good to see you. Whoa, Nelly, indeed. Casey Harold, did Nussmeier play well enough to have other teams claim him? Does he make the 53 as quarterback 3? That's a good question because I know I've heard differing views on what people thought about Nussmeier. I know it seems like there was a lot of positive feelings about him. There were some that didn't see much, and Really, I'm probably kind of in between. I mean, I thought he looked fine. I thought there were some definitely things that showed as why I feel like that he's a little ways away from being a quarterback and that's ready to play in the NFL and be competitive for you. I think he's made a lot of strides since he got drafted and since rookie minicamp. So I think there's been some real, good movement on his part. I like that. I think another team claiming him, I think it would be dumb. And you can't put anything past the NFL teams because there's plenty of them out there that are dumb. I think you would, if you're another team that's claiming Garrett Nussmeier at this point, I think one, you would just be wrecking all of the improvement and development that he's made to this point. I think it would just be totally erasing it. And two, you'd be getting a guy who's not ready to be on your 53. I mean, if he's going to another team, he's not going to know their offense. I mean, if he had to get thrown into duty, I think it would be a disaster for both him and for the team. But that doesn't mean that NFL teams aren't going to do stupid things. I mean, they are. If the Chiefs put him on waivers, if they waived him trying to get him on the practice squad, another team would have to claim him and put him on their 53. I don't think he's ready for that. Doesn't mean that other NFL teams wouldn't feel that way or feel like that they could stash him on their 53 for a while and see how it works out. I just think that they would be hurting themselves and they would be hurting the player. That doesn't stop NFL teams from doing it, though. I think he should get onto the practice squad if the Chiefs decide to go that direction. I could also see where the Chiefs may do one of those things. I don't think they did this with Shane Buechele one year where they kept Buechele on the 53, then waited a bit and then waived him and tried to get him back on the practice squad, which I believe they did, if I'm not mistaken. So there's other ways around it. I mean, I didn't think Nussmeier set the world on fire to the point where if I'm another NFL team, I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I got to go get that guy. But I know that there are also terrible NFL teams out there like the Cleveland Browns that probably would say that and say, oh, hey, this guy could play for us right now. Not understanding that, he's never seen your playbook before, doesn't know what's going on, and your team is just catastrophic. So nobody's going to help that team. I mean, there are those teams out there. So it's a loaded question, Casey Harold. He should claim waivers. He should end up on the practice squad of the Chiefs if he wants to be there. But you never know what NFL teams are going to do. I mean, I don't think it would be a right move, but somebody might. Danny, do teams actually send people to watch training camp like the Broncos or Chargers are slipping in spies? They're not supposed to send spies. Teams do send scouts and they have to sign in and report, so the teams will know who they are and who are there. Really difficult to slip in because everybody in the NFL knows everybody. So it'd be really hard to slip in and not have somebody recognize you and everything, especially in St. Joe this week, where, I mean, if Brett Veach wanted to, he could probably go introduce himself to everybody in the stands. It's lightly attended practice this week with school starting and everything. So this is the time. This is the time if you want to go to training camp, you can go there and get yourself a pretty good view and a pretty good seat. Does it mean that, hey, maybe the teams do slip in there? Or, hey, I mean, do you think a team would get caught if they hired somebody to go to another team's training camp practice and record things and shoot video? Nobody would notice if that happened. I mean, the only risk you run is that, you get found out, but then again, who knows? But yeah, I mean, I have not looked at the check-in list, and I don't, probably not supposed to report those things. It's probably considered off the record. So I'd have to verify that before I did anything too tricky. But yeah, there are scouts who absolutely attend games and come in and check everything out. Jackson, what are your takeaways from Cyrus's action last Saturday? I really liked it. I mean, he played a lot of snaps, a lot more than I would have preferred that he play. And after that one catch that he went up for and got hit and kind of bent a little bit as he was going to the ground, I would have taken him out then and just said, okay, Cyrus, good day for you. But I'll tell you what, the one play that excited me the most about Cyrus from Saturday was that one throw on the broken play. Nussmeier was rolling out and tried to throw the ball to Cyrus as he was breaking towards the right corner of the end zone, towards the pylon. What he did there was just, I mean, an advanced, veteran wide receiver move. He sees his quarterback is in trouble. The quarterback is rolling out. So what does Allen do? He goes to green grass. He sees their space. He sees a place where he can go to that his quarterback can hit him. So he's going that direction. Had Nussmeier been more of a veteran quarterback and had been able to put a little bit more air under that ball, that was a touchdown. That touchdown was there. Instead, threw it kind of flat. The defender gets the hand on the ball and tips it away. But like I said, if he'd elevated that ball, Allen gets away, and that's a touchdown. Allen making that move, is a veteran move. Most rookies are not making that move. Maybe not even a lot of second-year receivers are making that move. That was a really good job of Allen to identify the situation and what he needed to do and where he needed to go. And again, running the green grass, as they call it, is surprisingly difficult. I mean, it sounds like it should be an easy thing, but I've heard Andy Reid talk about this before in rookie receivers, and they don't get it sometimes, and and even some veteran receivers don't always get it. But your quarterback's in trouble, play breaks down, you go to green grass. And that's exactly what Allen was trying to do. And like I said, if ball was thrown a little bit differently, that's a touchdown. So again, I liked everything that you saw from Cyrus. I thought he had a really good day. So I think I missed that, Jackson, the first time around. So I apologize. I missed that question. Let's see. We'll get back to where we were. Tim, did Josh Simmons give any physical indication that the back injury was limiting him when he was exercising on the side field? I didn't really see anything. I mean, I watched him every once in a while when he was over there, and I didn't see a ton of his activity. It was a little crowded today, and you can also go into the tent where you're kind of hidden a little bit. So I can't say that I saw all that he was doing all day. But I mean, no, from what I saw, it wasn't anything like that you saw that looked like he was, specifically experiencing any back issues or anything. They had him obviously doing some activities that are just designed to help you stretch that out and strengthen your core. Those are always the things that you do in those with those injuries. So I didn't see anything. I think it's probably a little bit too hard to judge in that situation. Specifically, I'm sure that the back was bothering him. And you know what? It could very easily have just been that, hey, he just woke up with a little sore back after sleeping on the dorm bed, and they decided to hold him out after he had a little bit of extra work on Monday. So we don't necessarily know that it's anything to worry about yet. Nikki, why wouldn't you just quit if you're a guy like Snead? He's made good money and won't be able to walk when he's 40. I mean, I've read a few things that Legarius has said over the last couple of years when he was in Tennessee, and one thing is that he doesn't believe his knees are as bad as other people do. I mean, maybe it's a little bit defense mechanism. Maybe it's the truth. Maybe he really feels like the knees are not a problem. The teams that he's been playing for, and he had some other injuries too in Tennessee, but I mean, here's the thing. I mean, especially because you're right. I mean, he has made good money. He's not playing for big money this year, Nikki. I mean, these guys just love football. They love the competition. They love the game. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, I'm not saying that Legarius is one of these guys. There's certainly some guys that, are in the NFL that if they're not playing football, they don't know what they would do. There are guys that have backups and degrees, and, when they're not playing football, they've got something else. And like I said, maybe Legarius does have something lined up. Maybe he's got another career and something that he wants to do when he retires. But, there are, I think it's very, very hard to get to the NFL. You have to be a very, very talented person to get to the NFL if you don't love football. You can do it. Just that means that you're probably not going to be a superstar. Maybe you're just going to be a journeyman. Hey, you might be talented enough to maybe you are pretty good. You never know. But it's really hard to get to the NFL if you don't love football. And Legarius, he seems like he's one of those guys that just loves the game. So I think it's hard to walk away when you love what you do. And let's face it, I mean, if you're in the NFL, chances are you're not going to have a more fun and enjoyable job the rest of your life. I mean, you could ask the same question to Travis. I mean, he's making more money this year than L'Jarius is. Travis doesn't need the money. And I mean, let me tell you, I mean, Travis moves just as slow as anybody I've ever seen when he's not on the football field. I mean, I've seen the man, getting out of his car and, walking to the lunchroom and after practice, and you take a beating after practice. And I'm sure, I mean, hey, we know the paparazzi follows him around, so you can see Travis walking on South Beach and wherever, and he's getting around fine. But the game takes a toll on you no matter who you are or what you're doing. And Travis has taken that punishment too, but he keeps doing it. And why? I mean, he's the same way. He loves the game. I mean, and some of them, it's not even as much as that they love the game. It's just that they love the people. They love being around everybody. They love what they do. I mean, there's an element to that, Nikki, that I think it is really difficult to understand, especially when you think about and you see how much punishment that these guys put their bodies through, and you think, why is it worth that? Well, it's worth it because I mean, I just think that they love it too much, and I can relate to that. So I can understand why you want to walk away from something that you love to do. John, where do you see DeMarcado helping this team if Johnson is ascending? Well, one specific area is in pass protection because, and I mean, I'm going to try and say this as politely as I can and delicately as I can, because I don't want to be rude, but Emmett Johnson right now might be one of the worst pass protectors I've ever seen. Bless his heart. He tries. I will give him that. I absolutely will give DeMarcado that Emmett Johnson that, because he tries hard. Was it Bruce Weber that had the try hard chart at Kansas State, and like, hey, we wanted the try hard chart. Emmett Johnson tries hard, and he is willing to sacrifice his body. The problem is that he just doesn't know where to put his body. He doesn't know how to. He's not there yet. Technically, and he's never been asked to do this because he's always been a featured back, and and even in college, I'd have to go back and look at some of his Nebraska film and see. I mean, sometimes college film. I mean, colleges, they don't use their running backs in pass protection the same way that NFL teams always do. So there can be some differences there, but yeah, he hasn't been asked to do it, and before he's learning it, and learning it at this level is an incredibly difficult thing. No doubt. I mean, the two best pass protectors in the backfield on this team are DeMarcado and Kenneth Walker. Brashard Smith is still absolutely a work in progress as a pass protector as well. He's slightly better than Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson is right now I am positive he is probably the worst pass protector I've ever seen in the NFL backfield. And I mean, like I said, I don't consider that an insult, because it's hard to be good at anything that you've never done before. And like I said, my compliment to him is that he tries hard. He really does. He tries to put himself in front of people to block him. He just has no technique yet. So pass protection, third downs is definitely one. I think if I'm giving a spell, and this may fit into, again, we heard Eric Bieniemy talking a little bit about it. I think Andy Reid was more direct on Monday when he talked about, Emmett just, maybe reading some of the lanes a little bit incorrectly, and maybe just playing a little bit too fast and hitting the hole and not being patient enough the way that he needed to be. There's little tiny things in the Emmett Johnson game that just needs to be polished. And that's something that, hey, maybe it's going to be polished in week 5. Maybe it's going to be polished in week 9. Who knows? But in between now and then, I mean, DeMarcado is more than capable of being able to give Kenneth Walker a spell. He's been a very effective runner, and he can catch the ball in the backfield as well. And like I said, he's a pass protector, so you can put him out there on third down. And you can do the same thing with Kenneth Walker too. So those are ways I can definitely see DeMarcado being a force for this team. Even if Emmett Johnson becomes a guy that you trust more on first and second down, This entire year, DeMarcado is going to be the guy you trust more on third down. I'm the Brown. Do you think the reason they may not be restructuring Chris Jones' contract because they think he may retire before it ends, the way they aren't hit with any dead caps of the restructured money? I think there's, and one, let's face it. We haven't closed the door on it completely, because the Chiefs will probably need to restructure another contract before the beginning of the season, more than likely, just to free up some space, and also just even deal with some of the contracts that they have now and getting ready for the season. All 53 contracts, like I talked about earlier, plus your injured guys and your practice squads. The other thing, is that remember, okay, let's look at it this way. Right now, both the Chiefs and Chris Jones have an out after 2026. If Chris wanted to retire, he could retire. There's no doubt about that. He could. I get zero sense that Chris Jones has any interest in retiring after this season. Now, the Chiefs, however, have an out as far as they could walk on the contract. They would have only $19.5 million in dead cap in 27 and 28 that they would have to absorb. So and that's, it would depend on, again, if they made him a post June 1 cut, it would break up that money a little bit differently. I'm looking at it here and seeing where that money comes from. I think it would end up being roughly, I think, 975 in both years. Yeah, it would be. So you're either taking it looks like a $9.75 million hit in 2027 and then $9.75 million hit in 28, or if you made him a post June 1 cut, or if you made him just a regular June 1 cut, pre-June 1 cut, or you traded him, you'd have a $19.5 million hit for 27. Now, if you did it again after June 1 trade, would be the same thing. Now, the trick is that you have until the third day of the new league year in March to make that decision to a degree, because on that third day of the league year in March, $3 million of his 2027 salary becomes guaranteed. So that's not a huge amount, but again, that's $3 million that you don't want to pay if you're not going to have this guy on your team. So, if the Chiefs are going to do anything with Chris Jones, they could trade him and the $3 million guarantee doesn't matter. The other team's going to be picking that up anyway. So a trade wouldn't affect that. A June 1 release would affect that. If you're going to release Chris, you'd have a very, very small window of making him a post June 1 cut in March and save that $3 million. And then you'd be able to split that cap hit 975 and 27 and 975 and 28. The only reason why you wouldn't want to restructure Chris Jones, the biggest reason why you wouldn't want to restructure Chris Jones, is if you want that option. If you want the option of trading Chris, if you want the option of releasing Chris after this season, then you do not want to move any of his remaining money into 27 and 28. He has got a $19 million base salary this year. He's also has a $16 million roster bonus. The roster bonus, pretty good chance it's already been paid. And I'd have to check with my people to see if you could still restructure that, if you could include that. If you could, then he'd have up to $35 million that you could restructure. If it's just the base salary, then you got $19 million you could restructure. But let's say it's the $19 million. Let's say you split that and roughly make it $18 million. You're going to take a $6 million hit in 26. So you're going to save $12 million this year. But you're going to add $6 million to that 975 and 27 and 28. So now all of a sudden, if you decide to part ways with Chris in the offseason, you're taking a $15.75 million hit in 27 and 28 instead of 9.75. So that's the reason why you don't restructure Chris Jones right now, and because it would make it more costly to part ways with Chris in the future, whether it's whether it's after 26 or it's after 27 and before that 28 year kicks in. It just they don't want to kick that money further down the curb. So that's why you don't restructure Chris. I don't think it says anything yet about him in the future. The Chiefs could certainly still keep him in 27. They could keep him in 28. I mean, those numbers are big, but the cap's going to continue to go up. They can make it work if he is playing well. But if they want to move on, be it trade or just releasing Chris, then yeah, I mean, you can't restructure that contract. You can't move any money into the future. You gotta pretty much pay it right now. Or at least not guarantee that it's going to be on your books and not on somebody else's books. You don't. The Chiefs do not want to keep kicking this down the curb. Brian, is Benson or Moore going to get the nod at right tackle? I'll be honest. I think it's going to be Jalen Moore. That's the starting tackle, right tackle in Week 1, and that's assuming everybody else is healthy. Even if Trey Smith isn't ready to go in Week 1, I still think Jalen Moore is the right tackle. Pretty good guess that Benson would be the starting right guard, but I think he's going to enter the season as the backup at right guard and right tackle, and it's a great story as it is. But I agree. I talked to a lot of people who believe that he showed that he was a better guard than a tackle in the game against the Rams. We'll see if he gets to experience it, both those positions going forward. But I mean, there's a lot of people, like I said, there's a lot of right now, a lot of focus saying that they think he's going to be a better guard than a tackle. The tackle's not really his true position. And so if that's the case, and then, Chiefs solves one problem because they've wanted additional help at guard, but he's going to give you some tackle depth in the meantime. But yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, you watch it. I think Jalen Moore is the better right tackle at this point. I don't think it's a tie. I don't think there's any reason to get into the future and who you got team control over or anything like this. At this point, Jalen Moore is the better right tackle. And Benson's there and can develop and learn a little bit. So I don't think that's a bad situation. Brian, is EJ running back 2 right now? And I assume you're talking about Emmett Johnson and not EJ Smith. I know you're talking about Emmett Johnson, Brian. I'm just being silly. I'm not ready to say that. Maybe going into the season he will be running back 2. Right now, I mean, I do feel like it's a lot of just getting him more experience than anything else, and banking that up during the preseason, so that if they do need to ramp him up sooner than later, that he's got that experience to lean on. I feel like even though Brashard Smith is a second-year guy, I feel like that they want to get more of that work to the rookie. DeMercado is a veteran, so I don't feel like that they feel like they have to give him a ton of work. They gave him a couple of reps and snaps on Saturday. I think they were happy with that. So I'm not ready to declare him running back 2. He's working like running back 2, but not quite there yet. I apologize. I've been podcasting too much today, and apparently my microphone died. So hopefully you can all still hear me. I know my quality is not going to be as good, but we just have. Actually, you might not be able to hear me. Can you hear me? Let's see. I'm assuming you can. But if not, somebody wants to give me a heads up and everything in the comments, please feel free. I'm assuming I just don't sound very good. There you go. Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate that. John, it seems like we know what Oladokin is, and how does he stay on the practice squad? I mean, it's going to be tougher. I mean, was it 2 years ago that he did get waived before he came back? I mean, this might be the end for Chris. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, I think he's 27. Maybe this is going to be his 28th season. I mean, I think the development time for Chris has probably passed. And yeah, it's sad for me because I Chris is a good dude. He really worked hard. So it's unfortunate to see. I really wish that he could have. I mean, I say that. I mean, he's got Super Bowl rings, so I'm happy for the dude. Like I said, I just like Chris, and I just wish more for him. But yeah, this is going to be a crossroads year for him for sure, because I think one way or the other, Garrett Nussmeier is going to be around. I mean, again, one of the reasons why you certainly keep Chris around is, what if you do take the risk and you do decide to cross your fingers and see you can get Garrett Nussmeier onto the practice squad. I mean, there's a couple of things. One, having Chris Oladokun around is a little bit of insurance for that, just in case there's some team out there that thinks, hey, we could claim Nussmeier off the practice squad, and the Chiefs don't have a third quarterback. Well, they got Chris Oladokun, so screw you. Probably not supposed to say that on YouTube, but oh well, I did. But like I said, it is going to be a crossroads for him. I mean, the one thing for Chris that had been, and I know people, don't get it sometimes, but he's been a really good, practice squad quarterback over the years. He works hard. He does his homework. I mean, every day I walk into when I walk into the locker room, Chris is at his locker during the regular season, and he's in his notebook. I mean, whether it's he's working on his own plays, whether it's that he's looking at the cards and looking at what he's going to be running as a scout team quarterback that day. Remember, he ran scout team quarterback for a couple of Super Bowl teams, and he ran scout quarterback before any time that the Chiefs have been running, mobile quarterbacks over the years. So Lamar Jackson was his guy. I mean, he's done a lot of that stuff. So that's not enough to keep a guy in the practice squad, but he's been a really good teammate and a guy that has really helped out this team over the years. And the way that, guys on the practice squad, that's what they're paid to do. I mean, you think of practice squad guys as always being just in reserve to come up and play if needed, but sometimes guys are in the practice squad to make your team better. And Chris Oladokun has been one of those guys for them over the years. KC fan addict, seems like new injuries every day. Is this common at other teams' camps, or do the Chiefs just have that tough of a camp? No, it's pretty common everywhere. Every team's going to have some injuries. Some will have more than others. Like I said, I know there's a team that I read the other day that had about 20 guys out with injuries right now. Maybe it was the Chargers or 49. I feel like it was one of those West Coast teams. But they vary in severity. I mean, like I said, too, I mean, the Chiefs have only had to put one player on injured reserve so far this year. There are many teams that have already put multiple players on injured reserve. So the severity of them varies. Teams vary in how protected that they are sometimes of their players, especially with soft tissue injuries. Most teams baby them and take them pretty seriously. Doesn't mean that everybody does what the Chiefs do, maybe, and takes them as seriously as they do. Sometimes injuries are just bad random luck. I mean, sometimes you're going to go through a spate of them. Sometimes you're going to get lucky and maybe not have that many injuries. Like I said, I feel like that there's been some times in the past when the Chiefs have more injuries than they do right now. And obviously they were pretty lucky there for a little bit of camp. That didn't seem like they had that many injuries going on. So piling up right now at a couple of bad spots just because you got a bunch of offensive linemen, tackles, and linebackers that are hurt, that are challenging some of your numbers there. But no, I don't think it's the toughness of an Andy Reid camp. If anything, I think the players, as difficult as Andy Reid's camp is, I think they appreciate why and how it's difficult. And one of the things that once again I was reminded of this year, because a couple of the new free agents have talked about it, the toughness of Andy Reid's camp isn't necessarily that it's super strenuous. It's that there's no wasted motion, there's no wasted time. You're not just standing around not doing anything for a period of time. You always have something to do. So that's one of the things that actually players do like about the difficulty of this camp, is that they don't feel like their time's being wasted, that they're always doing something, they're always trying to get better, they're working on things, and that's what he does. Brian, why is it okay for Andy Heck's units to look ill prepared coming out of camp every year? Other teams aren't stink balls at O-line every year. I mean, haven't gotten out of camp yet, so Brian. So we'll see. The second team offensive line has been having some issues even before the injuries kind of started, and they obviously struggled in the preseason game. Again, I'll be honest. I mean, and I talking to a lot of people around St. Joe this week, the feeling is the same, not just in the media, but in the team as well. They false starts are legit, and I think they had 3 or 4 of those. You can't have false starts, so that was bad. I think they had. I think the ineligible receiver downfield was legit. Those are things again that was, I think, a rookie just not maybe quite knowing the rule and maybe understanding the timing of everything. But there was a couple of those holding calls that I thought were really, really soft. I'm like, I didn't see a hold. I thought they were bad calls by the officials, and I thought there were some more egregious penalties that were not called, but I thought they were particularly weak on holding calls, because there was a couple that Hunter Norzad had one that I did not think was a hold, and I've not been able to talk to anybody this week that thought it was. They had a couple of others of those too, so I'm not upset with all 11 of those. Like I said, false starts are a problem. A couple of guys had some bad days, and the second team offensive line can be up and down. So, but I thought the first team offensive line was pretty clean. So that's what you're worried about the most. So we'll see, Brian. We'll see how they look in week 1, and then we can talk about coming out of camp and how they look and everything. Donald, I'm complete. This may just me being stressed and overworked from training camp. I do not know what Dorn is, so feel free to fill me in there, and I will gladly try to answer it if I understand it. Just a couple of questions left, folks. So if there's anything else, last call. John, what would like to see in the upcoming preseason game this Saturday? Okay, well, I mean, you said what would I like to see? So I don't want to see injury. So that's always the first thing that you always say about preseason games. You don't want to see it. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, I would like to see that second team offensive line that we were talking about just now. I would like to see them playing better. I'd like to see some improvement there. Like to see a little bit, more consistency, a little bit more discipline in defense, kind of across the board. I thought the defense, especially the secondary, I thought actually played pretty well. Elements of the front four played really well and had some good games, and especially like R. Mason Thomas in the pass rush had a really good game. Needs to be better against the run, and they could have gotten better protection across the board. I'll be honest, one thing I would like to see is I would like to see Peter Woods not play. He tweaked his ankle last week, and I think he could stand some rest. I mean, he's looked like that ankle has been bothering him this week in practice too. It just hasn't been as explosive. I don't know if they're going to shut him down at some point this week. If today was going to be one of those days where tomorrow they're like, okay, let's give him some rest. I wouldn't mind seeing him have a few days off here and just rest that ankle and see if that brings back some of his explosion after they get back to Kansas City. Would continue to like to see out of the run game. See what Emmett Johnson's got. Give Brashard Smith some more work too. I'm not worried about seeing anything from Kenneth Walker or honestly DeMercado. I mean, those are veterans that I'm pretty confident in. So give the work to the young guys. Same thing with the receivers. I don't need to see Cyrus Allen. I don't need to see Rashee Rice. And unless you're Andy Reid and you're not planning on playing any starters in week 3, if you want to get some of those guys work this week, that's great. I just don't think you need to see extended work from any of them. I would like to see, though, more of that group of receivers that's battling for spots 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, in that ballpark, your guys that are going to be the bottom end of the roster, plus on the practice squad. I mean, Jason Brownlee had a rough game last week. Maybe I would still have him in the contention for a practice squad spot, but I'd still like to see more of Nico, a receiver. I'd like to see Jalen Royals get a bunch of reps. Andrew Armstrong, obviously, in that group too. Amari Evans. I didn't go look at the numbers. I don't think Amari Evans, Xavier Lloyd, that kind of group of receivers played a lot in the first game. I'd like to see them get more, and if that means more Nussmeier and more Oladokin, that's not a problem. I mean, I think those guys should handle most of the game again. I thought the way they broke the quarterbacks up last week was pretty good. But I mean, honestly, it's a little bit honestly some of the same things I'd like to have seen in the first game, John. I mean, I felt like that first game against the Rams was almost like just an extension of training camp. I mean, it was really outside of obviously some key starters not being out there and Mahomes being out there. It was kind of an extension of everything we've seen in training camp. And I like to see just a little bit more juice and a little bit more excitement, because just because the game plan's vanilla doesn't mean that your game has to be vanilla. And felt like the Chiefs just kind of played a vanilla game against the Rams. I like to see a little bit more explosion, a little bit more excitement, a little bit more aggression. We'll see if that comes out of the backups this week. Brian, is Oladokin the only quarterback with a Super Bowl ring that has never won a gall darn game? I doubt it. There's probably some practice squad quarterbacks that have a ring that, never played a game. So it wouldn't surprise me. So no, I imagine there's a few. I imagine there's a few of those out there. I think that's it. I don't think the only other thing I wanted to come back to, and I was going to go look at it real quick. So now you can all just look at it with me. Feel free to do your own search. Because I think I am completely and totally thinking about what Steve Smith said about Xavier Worthy. So going. Okay, so he lacks energy. Let's see. Was that the new comments or was that the old one? Because I know I'm seeing his scouting report from when he came out. Okay, maybe that's what I need to see. So just everything goes back to not very impressed with his energy. I don't know. I mean, I can't say that it's ever been necessarily a concern or a problem of mine that I've had about Jalen Royals. So, I mean, your mileage may vary and every day is different and all those things, but no, I don't know. I mean, that's unless there's something else that he had gone more in depth with and said and everything like that. I mean, hasn't never really been an issue that stands out to me. I'll be honest, Emerson. I mean, maybe it's what he saw on a specific day. Maybe he needs to see more. I've always felt like Royals has put in a hard effort and everything like that. So I don't consider him like a low energy guy, unless it's just like, it's just from an enthusiasm standpoint. I mean, I'll say, Royals, I think he's got pretty calm composure. He's not a rah guy and everything in that sense. And, it's not, I don't think Rashee Rice is either. I mean, he's not a big rah guy. If you're just talking about explosion or something of that nature, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess, I never put the comments on the stage. Darn it. Been a long week of training camp. That's all we're going to say. I don't know. I'm not huge. I'm not huge on that. So, like I said, and that's Steve Smith knows more about being a receiver than I've ever seen. And I mean, you're saying that, okay, he's already made the team. I mean, it's okay. I mean, maybe that's legit. I mean, I don't know. Now, if Steve's saying that he doesn't see this dog that he saw in college, then that I can see how that could be a difference and everything like that. But I haven't gotten really the implication that Jalen is, thinks he has already made the team or anything like that. Like I said, I feel like that even going back to last year, I feel like that he's just been a pretty calm, chill cat. I mean, it doesn't seem like somebody that's just a rah big guy that's just, so I don't know. I'm a little bit perplexed by that one because I don't know that I necessarily see that myself. Casey Harold. Yeah, I think I'm winning. Here's the thing. Once again, this camp has broken me. So I don't have my record updated. I have to do that. I do have all the wins and losses recorded in about 3 different places. I just have to tally them up. So I was planning on trying to do that before I go to bed tonight. And we'll have the standings. I'll report them tomorrow. Now tomorrow I will probably not be the first player on the field because we have an interview session before the practice that I have to be at. That will unfortunately probably mean that Zelmar Vetter beats me, especially if he gets there like 8:37 like he has been, then yeah, he's going to probably beat me because I will be tied up until like 8:30. And I don't think I'm going to be able to teleport there in 7 minutes. So I'm going to probably have to concede the loss tomorrow. But I will compile the standings and find out. I think I'm winning though, but I will confirm tonight and put the numbers together. Juddins, Hill coming back and the Chiefs are counting on it. I certainly do not get the sense that the Chiefs are counting on it. I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but again, the best estimates that I continue to hear about Hill's return is that maybe he's healthy in November or December. I mean, if the Chiefs are out of it, I mean, if they're hopelessly out of the playoff race, they're not bringing back Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill doesn't want to be here if they're out of the playoff race. So there's one way he could be not here. I don't even know if he's going to be healthy by November or December. I mean, guy was saying not that long ago that he didn't have the strength, that he could barely walk and all these things. So plenty of people do not think that Rice or that Hill's going to be ready to play this year. So, and as Patrick Mahomes once said, I will believe it when I see it. So, John forgot to ask, did you get Nick Jacobs a housewarming gift? Not yet is the key there, John. Not yet, because part of it is that I'm still trying to think. I mean, what do you get for the man who wants nothing? I mean, it's difficult. I mean, it's trying to find the right thing for Nick is really, really difficult. I'm working on it. I want to try to find the right thing. I've got some ideas, but I may have to wait until he gets settled and gets the entertainment area and everything like that settled in, because I feel like that would be my best contribution for something. So the key word here, John, is not yet. Britton, thanks for the jewels. Very kind of you. You don't have to hide. Pop up and get us some comments, anything you want to. Appreciate that. Hot wings from Al's and lottery tickets would absolutely be appropriate for Nick. Maybe a Cookie Monster T-shirt. He probably would like that too. I mean, I can certainly get Nick some novelty T-shirts, and he would love that. Everybody, you have been great tonight. Truly appreciate everything. Been a great show. Appreciate the comments, and I went by that really quickly. So thanks to Britton Duck. I love that for the jewels. Thanks to Dog Petter and Eric for the super chats tonight. You are all the best. I truly appreciate it. Got a couple of days of training camp left. A few more stories, a few more things to do, a few more things to get done. And then we'll talk about the game after Saturday. Nick and I will be back on Sunday with 41 is the mic to break down all the action. I think Brian squeezed in one more question. So why are we playing three quarterbacks? Why are we playing three quarterbacks plus Mahomes? Are we keeping four? It could happen, Brian. Things like that have happened before. I mean, teams have kept three quarterbacks on the 53 and a fourth on the practice squad. There have been times that teams have kept two on the 53 and two on the practice squad. I don't think the Chiefs would be one of those teams. I do feel like this is a crossroads. I mean, there will be a decision made about how they feel about Garrett Nussmeier, whether he's on the 53 or whether they want to try and get him onto the practice squad. And whomever is left standing at the end, I mean, if somebody doesn't pass through waivers, the other one will end up on the practice squad most likely. So we'll see what happens. But everybody, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the week. We will see you on Sunday for 41 is the mic, and then back here.